Okay, everybody ready for a story? All right. Well, have you ever done something for somebody else or for yourself and it just totally fell apart? Just completely fell apart. We know how that goes, huh? Well, I have a little story about a little girl that I know, and I'd like to tell it to you. See, on Sunday morning, 6-year-old Macy went down the hall to her parents' bedroom door, and she looked in there to see if they were still asleep, because she had a huge surprise planned for them. She was going to make pancakes for breakfast. She found it, and so she went into the kitchen, and she found a big bowl and a measuring cup and a wooden spoon. And then she went to the refrigerator and she found eggs and milk, and she brought them all over and she put them on the counter. And then she got her footstool, and she dragged her little footstool over there, and she climbed up on the counter. And she opened the cupboard door, and she pulled down a big, heavy sack of flour. When it hit the counter, it kind of fell over just a little bit, and the flour fuzzed up, and a little bit fell on the floor. Some of it fell on the floor, too. But she scooped some up anyway, and scooped it up with her hands, and she put it in the bowl. And then she added a cup of milk and some sugar from the container. And she was just doing pretty good at that time. But all of a sudden, Kitty Cat jumped up on the counter, and she tried to push her away. Jumped right up there. She did. She just jumped right up there out of nowhere. She tried to push her away, and she spilled the last of the milk. And the carton of eggs was opened, and it fell on the floor, right in the middle of all that flour. So frantically, she got down, and she was trying to clean that mess up. But she slipped on the eggs instead, and it covered her whole pajamas. And it was just a sticky mess. Macy looked at that mountain of flour under her feet and the sticky yellow eggs oozing through it. Well, Kitty was happily lapping up the milk that was all over the counter and sliding down the cabinet door. She couldn't believe that everything that she wanted to do, everything in her heart she wanted to do was good and nice for Mama and Daddy. And then it turned into such a disaster. I mean, everything was just a mess. The more she tried to clean up that sticky mess, the bigger it became. And Macy just knew her parents were going to be so upset about this mess that she'd created. And she just knew that she'd probably get scolded, or she'd get sent to her room. And she was trying so hard to do something really nice for her Mama and Daddy. That's all she was trying to do, was really something cool for them. Just then, she looked up, and there stood her daddy standing in the doorway surveying this whole scene. And she just knew she was in big trouble. Macy's shoulders dropped, and her big brown eyes filled up with tears, and she tried to explain the wonderful surprise that she had planned for them. And her voice started trembling. She says, "I was making pancakes to surprise you and Mama." Well, her daddy just walked through that mess and picked her right up in his strong arms and wiped away those huge teardrops that had slipped right down through all the flour on her cheek. And he said, "What a beautiful idea, Macy." And his heart was just overflowing with love for her, for his little girl. And Macy wrapped her small arms around her daddy's neck, and she just hugged him really tight. And they were both covered with pancake batter and eggs. And it's kind of like, sometimes we try to do something really good for somebody else or even ourselves, and it just turns into a complete mess. In our relationships with others, like Mom or Dad or our brothers and sisters, they'd get all sticky and kind of messy. Or when our health is bad, and we get sick, or we insult a friend, and it makes them sad. Sometimes we stand there in tears because we just don't know what to do or how to fix it. But that's when God sees us and he picks us up, and then he cares for us and he forgives us. And even when his mess gets all over him, He still loves us, every one of us. And just because we make a mess of our good intentions doesn't mean we got to stop making pancakes for God or others. Romans 8:28 says, we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God. At some point, we will get it right, and then everybody will be happy that we even tried. So we have to keep making pancakes even when we make messes, and God will still pick us up. Thank you for listening.